What's going on, guys? This is Gage from the Horror Lens. I'm here at Universal City Walk with my friends Peter and Joey. We're about to watch The Exorcist Believer, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. None of us are particularly optimistic for this viewing. I'm not usually the type of person to like to go into something with like such a closed mind and such negative expectations, but everything about this movie's existence just feels in like such poor taste to us, especially considering Friedkin just passed away recently. It was just an awful idea to begin with. How do you feel about this movie, Peter?
Okay, as you can probably tell, the original is my favorite movie.
He's just a little bit of a fan, just a little bit.
I'm expecting it to be bad, but honestly, I'm expecting maybe 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting to hate it, but who knows, I'm probably might.
I'm maybe in the same ballpark. I mean, like, here's the thing, is like, I just recently watched Exorcist 2 for my first time.
This is gonna be worse.
What about you, Joey? What are your thoughts on the whole matter?
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm also a big fan of the original. I think it's one of the best horror films ever made, one of the best films ever made. I just think that like The Exorcist, part of what makes it so special is it exemplifies that time in Hollywood's history, the 70s, when filmmakers could really be bold and take risks and do things that other filmmakers normally would not do for the sake of quality storytelling. And I just don't know if a modern day Exorcist film will be able to capture that same feeling of like risk taking that the original did. So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna try and be open-minded about it, but I'm not expecting to be blown away.
Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't bode well when Ellen Bernstein is back and she is on record saying, "Oh, I just did it for the paycheck." That does not bode well.
Remember, Peter, if you fall asleep in this movie, I'm kicking you. You're not allowed to fall asleep in the Sacred Church of David Gordon Green.
Literally having a 12-hour day, so this movie is gonna make it 14 hours. So yeah.
Hey guys, so we got out of the movie. Let's show everybody here. Gotta say, those are some faces I might agree with. So, how we feeling about the movie, guys? You wanna go first, Joey?
Yeah. I'll go first. Okay, so wow, way to take one of the most impactful, most thought-provoking, most visceral horror films of ever and make it one of the most tepid, boring, been there, done that slogs I've maybe ever sat through. Like, anything in this movie that had even a little bit of impact to it was mostly because it's stuff that harkened back to the first film. It's like, oh, let's have a shot of a couple of dogs biting at each other in a foreign country. That's like literally right from the very beginning, we're already starting out on something that's just a copy of something from the original. And it's like everything that this movie does is either cliched, half-hearted, or utterly inept. Other than the fact that this bears the name of The Exorcist, what reason am I really being given to care at the end of the day? So yeah, this movie doesn't have William Friedkin's bold direction. William Peter Blatty, who of course wrote the original film and even did the sequel, the second sequel, The Exorcist 3, he's obviously gone and no longer involved in any way, shape, or form. So the two originators of that OG film no longer have anything to do with this. It just overall left a really bad taste in my mouth because, again, William Friedkin just died not that long ago, maybe like a couple months ago, if that. So I'm just thinking to myself, he never wanted this. He gave us one of the greatest films of all time, and this is how Hollywood repays him. All I can say is I'm happy I got to use my AMC stubs to see this for free because I do not want to give any actual money towards this movie.
Yeah, like, so here's the thing, guys. I mean, you could say that we went into this thing, like, wanting to roast it, or that we went in with, like, preconceived expectations. I think I speak for all three of us when I say that I go in and I watch a movie, I pay attention, and I review it very fairly. And here's the thing, like, I heard other people in the theater enjoying themselves and being like, oh shit, like, you know, there's that one thing, or like people like gasping and all that stuff. I think the thing is, if you go into this expecting run-of-the-mill Blumhouse movie, jump scares, studio horror cliches, and big loud noises, then, like, it's probably fine. But this is claiming itself to be a sequel to The Exorcist. So we're gonna watch it like it is a sequel to The Exorcist. The moment that really lost me is when, like, one of the main character's friends, like, grabbing the guy in the shoulder, being like, "Hey, buddy, what's up?" was like a big jump scare. And there's plenty of stuff like that throughout the film. There's like parts where like the possessed young girls bang on the glass windows, and it's like that's not what The Exorcist was like supposed to be like. You know, Joey kind of alluded to the screenplay, and this is claiming itself to be a sequel to the original Exorcist, but it just kind of feels like that they just said, let's do like another possession 50 whatever years later. Let's make it be two girls this time, and let's just kind of like throw in Ellen Burstyn and then even Linda Blair, spoiler, as like a little fan service moment to just kind of like, and then we'll call it a sequel. They don't even like really expand on the mythology of Pazuzu in like any clever ways. The Exorcist, it was never about huge jolts. It was never about just being like some Blumhouse film we've seen a million times. It's always like the smaller moments with the characters too. Like in the original film, when the main character played by Ellen Burstyn finds out that like her daughter possibly just threw somebody out a window and killed them. Those little kinds of like genuine horror, among many other things. The fact that the original movie pushed so many boundaries for coming out in '73. Anything this movie tries to do today in 2023 is just going to seem really tame by those comparisons. The exorcism scenes themselves are just really hokey. I mean, honestly, some of them made me laugh unintentionally. You know, to say some positives about the movie, sure, like the cinematography, pretty good. Usually, like the cinematography in David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy was pretty solid. So, I mean, this movie looks good, but a movie looking good and a movie having actual substance to it are two very different things. We thought that the first like 15 minutes or so of the movie were actually like fine. I thought it started off on a pretty good note, but then it was like as I went through the film and was thinking retroactively back to it, it just kind of came off as, we need to have another opening that's like set in a foreign country, and we need to just copy some shots from the original film, or at least get pretty close to it, and then people will like it. Like, it kind of started off seeming like visually faithful to the original, but then it's like they just kind of abandoned that completely, like about an act into the movie. What do you have to say about David Gordon Green and the wonderful work he and Danny McBride are doing in the horror genre?
All right, Davey, Danny, 2 words, fuck you. Yeah. You ruined Halloween, and now you're ruining my favorite movie. They should not give you guys legacy sequels at all. Just go back to stoner copy. Universal paid $400 million for the rights to this franchise. Not only did they overpay, but this is what you're going to give us moving forward. And there's going to be 2 more of these damn things. That's the problem. It's like, stop trying to make a franchise. I know everybody's trying to be the Avengers now, but just stop.
And can I just say, I get it, like, at a certain point, like, everyone just caught on to the fact, like, around the time of, like, the late 2000s, that horror remakes are not as popular as the studios thought that they were going to be. And I feel like Hollywood at a certain point just realized, okay, so people are falling out of favor with remakes. Maybe if we just do, like, legacy sequels, like requels, rebooted sequels of sorts, maybe that is how we get around that. It just feels like it's a new trend to replace the old shitty trend.
If you want a good, like the best possession movie that came out this year that was a legacy sequel, Evil Dead Rise.
Yes.
But if you want a good horror movie that's not this, just rent Hereditary.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Or rent the original Exorcist. Honestly, be it the original theatrical cut or the director's cut, or, you know, whatever the version you've never seen, whatever that version is called. Just whatever version of the original film you watch that original film, because it has more gumption, more balls, and more heart than this movie in 5 minutes, in just any 5-minute snippet of itself, than this movie has in its entire runtime.
I don't believe anymore. I really don't. Sorry, I don't believe.
Hey guys, so my phone died and Joey's phone was running out of memory, so I just have a few more closing thoughts. So one of them being that in the original film from 1973, the script was so tight. Like, everything just had so much importance. Everything mattered as far as developing the characters, as far as the natural arc of them realizing, like, okay, no, it's not mental illness. There's actually something really wrong with Reagan. Like, you know, trying to convince the doctors of that, and then trying to convince the church of that. And just everything just had so much importance, and it went by at such a deliberate pace. You know, it just felt so natural. Like, I would say that William Friedkin directed that original film. Like, it was a drama first and a horror movie second. And that was just completely missing from here. I mean, the pacing was so off. The movie was apparently like an hour 50 minutes. You could have fooled me. You could have said it was like an hour and 20 or something like that. Just everything like just happened so quickly. And there are like moments that like I feel like the movie's trying to convince you that it's doing character development, like where you're just simply spending time with the characters, but you don't learn anything new about these characters in that time period. Like, these moments just come off as like really shallow, you know, just kind of like narrative padding. The other thing too is that when you finally do meet Ellen Burstyn's character in the movie, who honestly is really just kind of like a cameo, you just immediately get flashbacks to Laurie Strode's character from the new Halloween movies. It's like the same tired trope that they keep doing, where it's like, okay, like, you know, we get it. It's like the main character is like this final girl with post-traumatic stress disorder, and she's been training her whole life for this event. And it's the same thing they do with Sally Hardesty in the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's the same tired old stuff that we've seen like a million times before, and like Ellen Burstyn is just like totally phoning it in this movie, and she's such an incredible actress. Like, she doesn't deserve to be just like squandered down to like a paycheck job. The other thing I wanted to say is that like I've heard some people say that like, you know, that this movie is best case scenario of you know, if they were going to remake The Exorcist anyway, this is probably the best we could have gotten. And I would disagree. I would say probably the best that we could have gotten would have been like if Ari Aster, Rose Glass, or maybe Jennifer Kent did this. If it was like produced by A24, then I'd probably have the same reaction that I did when the Suspiria remake was first announced. This is just like a really shallow, sort of like beat for beat retelling of the original, but like without any of the depth or filmmaking nuance that made that original film from William Friedkin a masterpiece. You know, it just kind of rolled by the motions, didn't really justify how it was a sequel very much. You know, respectable performances and good cinematography, you know, for the most part, but just very woefully misguided and just so unbelievably hokey. This film was just a really huge misfire. I mean, like, yeah, it is better than Exorcist 2, The Heretic, but that's kind of like saying that getting your limbs chopped off, like all four of them, isn't quite as bad as getting your head chopped off. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I'm feeling a 1.5 out of 5 on The Exorcist Believer. It was just really bad, and I don't recommend it unless, like, the only reason I recommend this is if you have, like, no love for the original at all, and if you're just fine with seeing, like, you know, probably what's on its own merit, like an above-average Blumhouse film. I feel like this movie probably would have been better if it had just, like, not called itself The Exorcist, you know, like, if it was just some, like, if it was another Pray for the Devil kind of thing, it'd still be pretty bad. It'd be like above average, but it wouldn't be this abysmal, honestly. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you thought of it, and thank you all for watching. Goodbye.